Welcome everybody to NACTV's Community Roundtable, a series where we talk about relevant topics that are affecting our community, and we engage people who are actively working within the community or living in the community to discuss the potential impact, the whys and wherefores. And so today we're talking about a community age-friendly collaboration grant that the town has recently received, and with me I have three of the individuals who represent organizations. I have Yvonne Sisley from ArtsForward. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you.
I have Cassandra Groen from our new rec director. How long have you been in the position now?
Around 4 months.
4 months. Welcome. And Michelle Kasprick, who many of you will know, and I always forget your title.
Resource Coordinator.
Resource Coordinator. Thank you very much. And who are we missing?
Well, Michelle and I both actually are on the Handi-Van board. So Handi-Van is part of this, but we're representing.
Okay, so it's a quartet then.
Yes.
Excellent. So age-friendly. So let's talk about that. Who would like to explain for the people who may not understand what age-friendly really means?
Sure. So age-friendly, it can mean many things. Mm-hmm. It can mean, based on this grant specifically in this organization, it means that our community is doing what we can to support senior citizens in our community, whether that's active transportation, whether that's making sure that they get their basic necessities, connection in the community, basically anything that can increase their quality of life.
Okay. Well, and Michelle, you work primarily with the senior population, although
yes.
it expands across the community. We have a fairly large senior population here,
yes,
don't we?
We do.
I mean, we've got Kinsman Courts, we've got Kin 2, we've got Yellowhead Manor, we've got other sort of separate individual kinds of things. Elks Manor, oh my, yeah. So we have a lot. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, we actually have even more than that, because we're forgetting that there are seniors all over in the community in their own homes still. And plus, the hand office actually covers the surrounding municipalities as well. So, yeah. So anyways, but we're looking after, it's quite a large number of people in town. So we just want to make sure that they're living their best life and as independently as possible and in good health and good mental health.
Okay.
I like that statement, that they're living their best life. I like that.
Yes. I mean, that almost sounds like a motto, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Live your best life. So from your perspective, from ArtsForward, and clearly the Handi-Van, that's really one of its primary purposes.
Yeah.
With ArtsForward, you have senior programs happening?
We do, and we've really focused probably the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Michelle and the previous rec director, Nicole Cooper, and I had worked on some different grants as well. And we've got cardio drumming that we offer Monday mornings, which we turn to not only an active class, but then also we had tea and coffee and snacks for everybody after, so that they socialized.
Yeah.
And they would stay for 45 minutes, an hour after, and socialize. And it's been interesting because it was seniors from all different, I'd say, areas and groups around town that...
And ages.
And ages, yes, and ages. Because it's 55 and up.
Okay. I was going to ask you,
yeah.
what is the definitive sort of...
Yeah, so we started with that, and we've also offered our seniors Mondays, where we had seniors come in and coffee, tea, we'd have an activity, or we'd have somebody come and do a presentation. So we've been working at it for a while, and partnerships doing it, so that we all can do it and still offer either free or very low cost.
Okay. Now, age-friendly. Talk to me about some of the history here. This age-friendly grant came up. Clearly you were aware of it. Was there anything that happened in the community before then that would sort of heighten that whole age-friendly kind of approach or concept?
So, I mean, like everything that everyone in the community is doing. So you've got Rotary, you've got Lions, you've got a bunch of clubs that are also adding to that, because that's giving them something to do in a community. Hand does a lot. Even our assisted living does a lot for our seniors. There are communities that don't have any of those resources. When we do, So that contributed a lot to where we are. It's not just one sole organization that did anything. And I know that the town of Neepawa was working with Age Friendly previously. They became a milestone community, which meant that they had to do a few more things
Right.
before
I was going to ask
getting
about,
that.
because I see the term
Yeah.
milestone community gets preference. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had, prior to you starting, we had Age Friendly came out at ArtsForward, and we had, a 4 or 5 hour session going
It was
over
so good.
the information that came out of that, because Alzheimer's Society was represented there. There was somebody there that speaking just to dementia, and Han was there. Touchwood was there. Handi-Van was there. All these different organizations. Touchwood is one that people forget that there is
they have a
seniors,
fairly large
yes,
population
involved as Touchwood individuals there. And what I learned in that time, and what we as a community needed to work on, and to make it more age friendly, even with ArtsForward, the Pride Sidewalk that's out front of ArtsForward. We consulted with, and I can't think of her name, from the Alzheimer's Society, and about the border on that side, on the sidewalk, to make sure that we had a border. I believe it's 2 or 3 inches thick and white around that sidewalk, so anybody that's struggling with dementia could understand that that's still a sidewalk. Just little things. The benches
The
around
benches,
town.
I remember that, yeah.
Because they're painted benches.
Yes.
So that's something out of the norm. So somebody that has dementia wouldn't understand what that painted bench is. It was a very eye-opening meeting, and there's a lot of organizations that put things in place from that meeting so that we could get the age-friendly distinction.
So, is there an age-friendly department or through the government an initiative? I seem to remember. I know a gal came out, and I was part of that committee and met with the town at the time to talk about that whole age-friendly. What kind of community are you? Are you an age-friendly community? And then there were a number of spin-offs from there, including, I mean, all of you, maybe not you, Cassandra, because you weren't in harness at the time, but the rest of us were. That initiative out of the planning department from the University of Manitoba was quite interesting.
That was Richard Milgram that came out.
Thank you, Richard, yes.
Yeah, and then Brenda Tunn from
Yes.
Age Friendly was there
Brenda,
as well.
okay.
So we incorporated a lot of seniors from different, just all walks of life, and also the town was there, and yeah, it was very, very good.
Well, I remember
Lot learned.
I was at a ceremony and I ran into Brenda, and she realized from Neepawa, and she said, "There's a lot of seniors here. I'd be meaning to go." And I said, "Well, please do, because I think everybody would be receptive." So it was nice to see traction has happened. So as a result, when did this grant become available?
This is a question for Cass. Because actually, I would like to say, so even though it was Nicole who had been part of all of these
Yes.
meetings and done some of the background work, Cass is the one that came up with this and met with us and said, "I've got these ideas. What do you guys think?"
wow,
And it was a
neat.
collaboration that Cass actually initiated. So
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, well, this is like priority is milestone communities. So as soon as I found out we were a milestone community, the grant came out, I want to say it was October, like it was with my first month of being here.
Oh, that's fairly
It was
recent.
fast.
Yeah.
And then, so I saw the grant come out and I knew we were a milestone community. I said, we got to get on this. Like, this is huge for us and it's the perfect time to do it. And that's when we started getting brainstorming. I connected with people that I knew that knew the community to make sure that the initiative would do right for the community, because we can guess all we want what the community needs, but to talk to people and collaborate is how I learn what the community actually needs and wants. So we applied for it, got it at the end of December, and then here we are.
So now you've got the grant. How much is it? Just
$10,000
okay, $10,000. And is there a timeline that needs to be spent by?
within the year.
Within the fiscal year? Within the whole calendar year?
2020.
2025. Yeah.
Anytime in 2025. So you've got some time.
Yeah.
So now you've got the grant. Now comes the challenging part. Clearly, you gave some indication of what you might consider. Now, the metal hits the road, and so what kinds of thinking are you doing? What kinds of thoughts do you have about how would you use this grant?
Well, so as Handi-Van, we Handi-Van right now is able to take seniors from the assisted living facilities on Tuesdays to Co-op for free grocery shopping. That's sponsored by Co-op. So we knew that there was seniors in their homes who had actually reached out to Handi-Van and hoped that they could do something like that. So we on the Handi-Van board said, okay, well, we've got to have Handi-Van in there, and maybe we could have seniors from their homes, something with groceries. So that was kind of the start of that one with Handi-Van.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you want to,
Yeah.
So to talk more about the Handi-Van, that so like how it would work. These are seniors who are not able to access the program through the co-op, right?
yes,
So this would just would you look at covering the whole cost? Would you?
Yes.
yes,
And that would go for the extension of the grant, right? And then,
Yes.
then it would
Yeah.
cease. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so for like the grocery trips, for example, it's once a month. It's a specific day, and they can call the Handi-Van and say, we're part of the senior initiative. Can we please get a ride to the grocery
Oh,
store?
cool.
And
Yeah,
they
okay.
just plan a ride and works for them.
Now, with that initiative, how well is it used? That Tuesday.
Well, the Tuesday, they have their regulars. I want to say Justin said it's like 8 or 10 people
That sounds about
regularly
Okay.
that use it. And for those 8 or 10 people, that is their only way that they still can physically get there and
Yes.
do their own shopping. And as Justin said, it's a social.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's
a
social
trip out.
And
aspect.
we tend to forget that when you're looking at everyday life kind of things, there is that social component
Yes.
that's extremely important.
Yeah.
And I may be stepping out of line, but suggesting that perhaps some of our seniors, because of their living circumstances, are a bit more isolated than
Yes.
some of the more
Very
mobile
much.
younger people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, well, and I mean, how many people have to give their licenses up, you know, and they just,
That's a big one. That's a really big
so this
one.
is going to be really important. And I believe the Tuesday that we're doing is to Safeway this time too, right? On the seniors day, the seniors discount day. So that's a kind
so
of
it
a,
changes it up a bit.
it
Yes.
does, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
So
Yeah.
it's just something we can add for them.
So this is still in the planning stages, but this is an intent, or have you operationalized
That
this
So
is,
it starts next Tuesday. On January 15th is
Yeah.
the first grocery trip.
yet? And so, okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about details. So if that's the case, who do they phone? Just the Handi-Van?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And do they have to indicate from what part they're from, or does it really matter?
What do
Well,
you
because this is a different section than the ones that are eligible to go on the co-op
It,
thing, right?
it really
matter.
doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we don't want to put barriers in there, so trying to make
Yeah.
it as easy as possible.
Yeah, it's all about eliminating barriers. So they just simply say, we'd like to go to Safeway,
Yeah.
or we'd like to go to co-op.
Yeah.
Cool.
Betcha.
All right. So what
We
are
don't-
other things you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just grocery trips. So we also are doing activities. So these activities actually have a therapeutic recreation base behind them. So there's a rationale behind why we're doing which activity. Yeah. So we do things like we'll do a trip to Riding Mountain National Park to get people away.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, and you know what? Isn't that lovely? Because we have that resource so close.
Exactly. And then we do other things like bring and share your photos from your favorite vacation. Just being able to talk about your favorite vacation, bringing photos, sharing. It's
So where would that happen?
At our
That will be
ArtsForward.
at our store.
Yes.
Oh, it's nice. We have a location like that.
Yeah,
to
it
do
is.
these
It's
kind of
perfect.
things.
It's perfect. Yeah, and then we do some crafts. We'll do a trip to McCreary Rodeo. So some of the things that people weren't always able to do before.
Well, I
And
imagine,
bring 'em together.
and I'm just going to throw this out there. I imagine there's a lot of seniors who come from farming background,
Yes.
agricultural. So even going to the Austin fair,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you do all that, might be something that if they're not, haven't been for a while, might be something too.
Well, and
It's a really
I
good
think
idea.
that nails it. You know, some of the stuff is stuff that they've always done, and then all of a sudden they haven't been
Yeah.
able to do.
Yeah.
Live your
Right.
best life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find so personally in this initiative, as long as we're helping a few people, we're making a difference.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
Agreed.
even if grocery trips don't have 20 people attending,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that as
Yeah.
long as we're helping people in the
Well,
community.
and I think that's a really positive attitude to have. I mean, we all go into projects with expectations, but being realistic, and who knows? I mean, we often find that the rumor mill gets around and says, "Did you know you can do this? Did you know
Yeah.
that this is happening?" You never know, and you've got a year to experiment with
Yeah.
this kind of thing and see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Well, and
That's
the senior social hour and dance, Michelle and Judy and Lyle Watson approached me before this grant had come out because they were trying to figure out, they felt it was very important just for the social aspect of it to have dances and get some seniors out once a month that wouldn't normally come out. So we were racking our brains how we can do it, how we can get free Handi-Van for them, how we can do this, and so it's come into this.
So
And
this-
if Michelle wants to speak to that, it's
okay, because
Yeah.
you know that's a very interesting thing. We come from a rural community, and not all that long ago, community dances were common. Everybody went to
Yeah.
community dances, and you're right. You become more restrictive as you become less able to do certain things. So that's a really fantastic idea. So can you speak a bit more to that?
Yep, we're trying to just include everybody. It really kind of is in the works still. We may not even
tweaking.
yeah.
We're tweaking.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing a meal every time we do this, once a month. Originally that was going to be maybe every other month, but in December when we ran the first one, we found that was the main draw. And it was really great because we had this ArtsForward was full
Yep.
to busting, and we had all these
wow.
people there, and the noise was incredible, and
It
they
was
were
awesome.
all visiting. Yeah, it was super, and just sharing a meal, the socialization, and really we want to play to good mental health also, right? And that is such a huge part. And just getting out. A lot of people are housebound, and the free Handi-Van ride, like we were talking about before, was a real draw, I think, for some that wouldn't have been able to come otherwise. And actually, we are working with Stride Credit Union. They gave us a grant of $500 to put towards that, which we really appreciated. So we had at that time, after the meal, we had actually some of our seniors participate in the entertainment because, yeah, we had one of them, he plays guitar and he sang, and we had one of our ladies from the Choraliers was singing, and another one was playing the piano. So it was really, really lovely for Christmas especially.
Yes.
And then we had actually, Yvonne, because she's brilliant with this stuff, had made a playlist of old time music because we didn't really have time to get live music for that.
Well, you know what? Live music's lovely, but there are alternatives.
Well, and music just, I think, it draws people.
Yes, it does.
So going forward, we're definitely going to be having a meal once a month that we hope everybody comes out to enjoy. And it's provided by the community meal program that's run through Hand. So it's all home cooked, huge portions. It's delicious. And we're just tossing around different ideas for what happens after the meal. We did notice that the meal was the major draw. So whether we have live music for a bit of a dance after, or just, it doesn't even have to be to dance to. Just because a lot of our seniors that did go to those dances are maybe not as able now.
Right.
But just to listen
Listen
to
to
that
hear the
music,
music,
brings
yes.
memories back. It makes you feel good. And if you notice, if you go to a care home, they quite often have musical guests come in. And people that are usually maybe just sitting, you watch and their toes start tapping and their hands start going, and it's just so, it's good for your soul. So we just want to play to every aspect we can to give them a good day and something to look forward to once a month.
Okay.
So
And it was very important to us that we had one before Christmas, because we
Yes.
know there's so many of our seniors that are isolated
At Christmas
over the
time.
holidays.
Well,
And we wanted them to at least,
yeah.
even if they were just out building connections that day, but we felt that there might be some carryover going into the holidays, so it was really, really important.
we gave them Christmas spirit.
Yes,
And
yes,
that was,
exactly.
and I think that's important very
yes,
much.
Agreed.
Yeah, very much so. It's. We'll talk more about that. Is there anything else that you've got planned at this point?
No, not at this point. That's kind of what we have is the grocery trips, the activities, and then the social hour and dance. All of them, you can get a ride for free with a Handi-Van.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I think the social thing. What strikes me about this is the community aspect. I think the word community is very important. We are a community. We do a lot of community things, but when I'm hearing what you're saying and all those sort of components involved, it's Handi-Van, it's the 3 organizations here, but it's also more. It's those people who volunteer to do the meals and the food and other things, and the spin-offs can really be quite amazing. And I think you've hit it on the head. The isolation, the fact that typically most people, especially in rural communities, are very social in some aspect or another, and that gets restricted as you become more restricted as an individual. So it's exciting, and so you've got some really interesting and maybe other things coming forward in the year. So I have a question for you. This is great. This is wonderful. When the grant ends, are you thinking about what may happen going forward from there?
I think we're always thinking,
Yeah.
trying to think
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, and always looking to see if there's something else out there that we could apply to continue
Yeah.
stuff on. The cardio drumming, for example, it was a 1 run, but we've had 3 now that we've been able to get different grants for and continue. So I think, yeah, always kind of keeping an eye on things, making, if something pops up, will this fit? Will this work? What can we do next? And taking feedback, like Cass was just talking on the way here about feedback from the social hour and dance in December and with the grocery trips. And
Yeah, like somebody had mentioned the fact that they can't get to Home Hardware. And is there options to eventually make that an option? So on the way here, we were actually kind of just chatting about it because if we don't have enough participation in grocery trips, maybe we make it so that it's open so that they can go to Home Hardware. Maybe they want to go to Lola's Bakery or wherever it is they
That's a
need
good
to
idea.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's not just
Okay.
restricted to one location.
It's nice that you're looking at flexibility, because really what you're looking at is how do we make life better? Live your best life.
well,
That's-
and what's, I guess we're to a situation where the world is different. And I look at the world as pre-COVID and post-COVID.
So do I.
And
we all do, I think.
yes,
I think
and
that you're
post-COVID
right.
with the seniors, and the mental health with everybody has been,
Tough.
it's very, very tough. So
You
to
see that across the
Yeah.
spectrum.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to have this focus and be able to the socialization aspect in any program. I had and I'm kind of going off on it, but I had a mom come in to register for a different program at ArtsForward, and she registered her and her best friend, and she said, I just have to say, you know your Mom's Morning Out program? And I said, yeah. I didn't know her until we came to the Mom's Morning Out. You gave me a best friend because we got to know each other, and it's the social aspect. And it is no different with this. It's no different with any program. If you can offer so that there's some social and people can get out and sometimes get out of their comfort zone, but getting out of their comfort zone isn't a bad thing. Again, and that's why we did what we did before Christmas. It was very important to offer that social, give them that little step up just before
Yeah.
Christmas. So yeah.
And a warm, welcoming, and
Yes.
safe place too.
Yes. Yeah.
That's very important. We live in a high tech world. It gets higher and more techy all the time,
Yeah.
and that tends to isolate people because you can sit in front of a screen. But our seniors don't come from that kind of
Right.
of background right from wee small. It has been more people oriented and socializing, and it's so important. And you're right about the whole post-COVID. I can't think of a demographic that hasn't been impacted. People thought we'd snap back. Well, nobody snapped back. COVID changed a lot of things, and we're still seeing those kinds of things. And as your population you're dealing with is even more isolated in certain ways. This is really quite exciting.
Yeah.
And you said keeping track. And
Yeah.
that was a question I was going to ask, because what you want to do is in some way, I'm assuming, assess how well it went, what worked, what didn't work. Do you have any kind of formal process? Is there an expectation, or are you just doing your own, deciding what works best?
It's just a lot of between the
It
three of
really
us.
is. There's a lot of conversations. We're always listening to feedback. Every time we attend an activity, people will tell us what they need and what they thought, and we take that into account. You mark it down. We also have like a list of like how many people are participating in what, to show us what people want or need. That'll help us for future, right? Like it'll show us, okay, people really want trips to Riding Mountain.
Or they really want to get together for a meal and socialize,
Right.
or have the
Exactly.
dance,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
do
so
that
then
kind of
maybe
thing.
that's what we prioritize next year to make it, to continue it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay.
and that's exactly, we learnt just from the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, we all stood there at the end and we're like, okay, so we're going to have a meal at every one. But it was just taking that. And we did Lyle Watson had, he was kind of the MC for it. And we opened it up, we all spoke, and then we opened it up to questions and suggestions and making everybody aware that yes, we want your feedback. We want to improve, we want to tweak, we want to work on whatever we can to make it better for everybody. So
Well, that's good. I'm struck by, again, that community thing, and I'm wondering, you're going to be approaching maybe Stride or other organizations along the way to engage more of the community in this, because the power is willing. We're all going to age, and we're all going to be in a situation, and if we have something that's structurally sound within our community that accommodates that or recognizes that and has that opportunity, that's really quite
well,
good.
and it's interesting you say when we're all going to age. The first round of cardio drumming, when Nicole had done up the poster and she said, okay, just take a look and see what you think, and I went, 55 and up, I'm almost there. I could be doing my seniors cardio drumming. We don't realize that so many of us are into that seniors population.
My wife and I had that conversation this morning. We won't go there, shall we? So how has it been received generally by other parts of the community? Have you had any feedback?
I've had a lot of positive feedback just on social media, and then with people I've ran into in the streets. People are really excited about it. They're so happy that they have this opportunity. From people calling for grocery trips, they're like, I don't know if like I can be part of it, and I'm like, I'll explain to them like the support that's there, and they're just excited to be able to go grocery shopping again. So like, I don't know. I've been getting a lot of reward from it, from getting the calls. All of these people telling me, oh, I used to go to the rodeo every year, and I used to do all of these things. And
so you have what social media are you using? Is it through the town?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do have a specific sort of site or whatever social media platform you're using for that, or is it just general?
It's just general. It's on the Town of Neepawa website. You can also find it on the Recreation website, but they also share it on their social media. So
I think though we need to make sure this gets into the paper, because I know a lot of my seniors, they do not do computer, tablets, phones.
Paper is very important.
I prefer paper.
Yeah.
So
Cass did a great job with Casper and getting an article in the paper over Christmas, and
that was good.
so the first ad went in over Christmas, just so because we had talked about it with everybody's families home. If maybe somebody didn't read the article, somebody sitting there at a, the paper, let's see what's happening. And at least we knew it would actually connect to more people, having it in that Christmas edition of the banners. So, and it ran for 3 weeks. So it was very good.
The other thing I'm thinking of, and I don't know why I'm thinking of this because it doesn't really relate to me, it's about hair. Perhaps some senior ladies, the accessibility to get to a hairdresser or that kind of thing.
That was actually one of the things that one of the ladies actually mentioned at the social hour and dance. She knows somebody in her building that isn't able to get out for a hairdresser, and wondered if we can look into, is there somebody that just even putting the word out there that wants to go in and do some seniors' hair. So there's
lots of spin-offs.
But yes, and for hairdressing for the Handi-Van trips, I think opening that up, and we were thinking grocery because we already knew that Handi-Van did grocery one day, but there's just so many different things that you don't think about.
Well, the possibilities are really endless, and I think it all comes down to the people that we're dealing with and their needs. So, I mean, things could change dozens of times, over the next year, but then further on, because we get more of an idea of what people are wanting, and that will change too.
Yep.
I really like the thought about having it organic, where it evolves. It can change because people's needs change or things come out. If you have a very strict or rigid model, okay, you eliminate some and you force others to fit within, but it sounds to me like you've got a very broad-based approach to what could happen, and you're just open. The bottom line is, how do we help people live their best life? I like that. I'm referring to that.
Like that
you can
too.
see. But anything else you would like to add? You can think of?
If I can just speak to Handi-Van for a second with this.
Yes.
I think being on the Handi-Van board, and we know the struggles the Handi-Van is having, and we're really trying to promote and involve Handi-Van in any of the grants that we get.
Yes.
Not only just to help them out, to be able to sustain themselves, but also to make people aware. There's the Handi-Van, Justin Chakowski, who operates, oversees everything, hires the drivers, and looks after all of that. Justin is an amazing person, and he goes over and above, and so do the drivers to help out any of the individuals who use the Handi-Van. But it's also to make that awareness of the Handi-Van, because we still have a lot of seniors that don't use the Handi-Van, and they don't understand how much more it will make their life easier. The rates for the Handi-Van are probably some of the lowest in the province.
They are.
Yeah.
I looked into that actually.
And so it is something that is still affordable for people to utilize. And yes, we're able to offer seniors free Handi-Van with this, but it's in hopes of them understanding that, if you want to go, say, to the Roxy or go, you still can use that service. It's out there. This is who they are. You can get comfortable with them, and then maybe they will start to utilize them a little bit more too.
Well, that's right, because we want to keep all these different organizations in Neepawa to continue making our town so age friendly.
Begs to me a question. What are you doing, or have you done, or are you considering with regards to getting the message out to more community-based organizations and community-based businesses? I mean, you've done the paper, you've done that kind of thing. Sometimes it takes a little more of an active approach. Have you been thinking about what you might do?
Yes. Actually, I'm going to be doing some presentations in the smaller communities that are included in our area.
What communities are those?
Well, we look after the RM of Rosedale and Glenella Lansdowne and North Cypress, Langford, and the town of Neepawa.
Okay.
So it encompasses quite a large area.
Handi-Van. Let's talk about the Handi-Van a bit more. How long has it been in existence?
Over 30 years, I believe.
Something.
Well, I'm thinking back. We came here in '82, and I think the Handi-Van
so there you go.
was still operating, and it's a long time.
And what's interesting about it, so they're still getting the same funding from the provincial
Atta girl.
government they got in 1982.
Yes.
You're joking.
No.
So that is.
You're joking.
No, it's been a huge struggle.
No.
And Handi-Van, and we've gone round and round in our board meetings about raising rates, and we're struggling with a lot of that because we don't want to make it unaffordable for people to utilize the service, but costs of everything are going up, and yet the funding for it has not gone up. John Pottinger had spoke to this at the age-friendly meeting that we did at the Yellowhead Manor there. He said his dad was on the president for how many years? John's been the president for 14, 17 years, something like that, and the funding has never changed.
So really, it's kind of amazing that we still have a Handi-Van.
Yes.
And I'd say that's the dedication of past board members because my goodness.
In your understanding, or are you aware, is this the same with other Handi-Van situations?
Yes, all the Handi-Vans across the province are. There's some that have folded. There's others that they've raised their rates to what rates really should be if you're figuring out the cost of gas and everything else, but they don't have ridership because their rates are so high. So yes, this isn't a Neepawa, an area Handi-Van issue. This is
a provincial
issue.
If they're going to support it, support it. If they're not,
And
interesting.
The town, the RMs, have come to help out. At the end of the year,
Yeah,
there's
they're
a
very
deficit.
supportive.
They've come to help out, and Handi-Van has approached all of the RMs involved and the town of Neepawa and are asking for a per capita donation to the Handi-Van every year. So they've never had that before. So that will help too. But it's still, we're going to need a new van, and you can't get the vans. You can't get a 6-seater van anymore as a Handi-Van. They're the larger vans, which we're looking at $170,000, $180,000 for a new van.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you take a look at the impact, because the Handi-Van's used with more than just seniors.
Yeah.
But you look at that to a community. We've never been able to keep a taxi.
No.
So there's no taxi.
No.
And in our time here, I'm aware of at least 3 initiatives that have just gone. They just haven't succeeded, and people just aren't taxi people here. It's very interesting. That would be devastating.
It would be. And all of our neat trips and bus trips that I run through the hand office, we depend on the Handi-Van, and if we didn't have it, we can't take our seniors anywhere.
Yeah, it really limits. You want to talk about isolation?
Yeah.
Well, even I know that when I was working with settlement, the Handi-Van was used for trips to outings to different places.
Yes.
It was just really valuable. We couldn't have done it otherwise. And so, that's wow.
So we have been going over and above to make sure Handi-Van is included in any of the grants that we're doing, because we realize it is a vital resource in our town. And
very necessary.
Yeah.
So talking about age friendly, so you've got the grant, you're focusing on what's happening with the grant. What's your thought or your thinking, or are there any plans to talk beyond the grant? Because the grant's addressing certain things in terms of accessibility and getting people out and socializing. But that grant's going to expire, and I know you're going to look at other grants, but in terms of what other things in the community do we need to be looking at with regards to age friendly that you think we need to be seriously considering as a community?
Ooh, I think that as the year goes by, because of the feedback, we will learn more and get more ideas. I know that just from when Richard Milgram came out with the university students, I know that, as with everybody, our roads and sidewalks are a concern for them and their safety. So that's something. But I mean, the town is constantly working on that. So I don't.
It's interesting. So, and it's not just out of that discussion and those meetings, but I'm on the Public Works Committee, and one of our last meetings, not the last meeting, the one before, we had talked about just different things we can be doing with the sidewalks and the roads. For example, we have to think outside the box. I just read in the paper this morning that Brandon's looking at a 10 or 11% increase in taxes to try and get some of.
Well, the money has to come from
Yes.
somewhere.
We're not. Just gonna say. We're not.
I was just going to say, so guess what's coming down the
But
pipe, folks?
so because we're not, we have to really think outside the box. And the roads. Sorry, I'm kind of totally. But the roads. You know, we're just a little blip on. There's 3 asphalt companies in Manitoba. That's it. 3 paving companies in Manitoba. So a half a block costs us, because we do things properly. We are not putting lipstick on a pig. We're not just going to pave the surface and not worry about what's underneath the infrastructure of it. So if you're going to do a block properly with the proper infrastructure, it's between $400,000 and $500,000 for one block. So we're looking at different things, because we don't have millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to pave all of our roads. Sidewalks as well. Sidewalks are not cheap. Cement is not cheap. So there's Denise looking into some things. We've talked about some patches, just different stuff. There's some different product out there now. So definitely, I mean, it's come up in those. It's come up with the community. We're looking at all different areas, because as our winter is showing again, we're going from -40 to +2. Unfortunately, next spring, it's going to be even worse.
It will be, and
because
that's
of
people
what's happening.
forget it's Mother Nature that's causing our roads and sidewalks. But Neepawa is very, very lucky, because our town council listens to us. They know, they're doing everything they can. They know. So,
well, accessibility is an issue for everybody in
It
some
is.
form or another. And certainly so for our senior population, because we've talked about that whole thing sort of don't collapse in, but become narrower, and availability and all that kind of thing. It's when you start looking at things like age-friendly, all sorts of other little doors open, right? And little windows, and say, oh.
That's what I mean, though, by we'll learn through the year
Yes.
so
Yes.
many different avenues that we can go down. So it's kind of just like going on a trip. You have no idea yet.
And,
You
and
say,
we're
well, let's
all-
get in the car and go and see
Pretty
where we're going.
much, yeah.
Okay.
And the fact that our ears are open. We're absorbing as much as we can out of any events or anything that we're doing, and we're communicating. And I think people knowing that they can approach us and say, well, hey, what about this? And then we all, ooh, what can we do, right? Like it's.
So now that brings a question to my mind. Who else within the community you feel you need to engage to continue to support or go forward with this? Are there any other groups, any other organizations that potentially could be of
I
value?
think
so
there's
many.
lots.
I think depending on what we're doing,
Yes.
we can pull in just
there's
about
lots.
everybody at
Yeah.
one time or another.
Yeah.
So that's part of what you're looking at.
Yep.
Who else can we?
Yep.
Because I mean, this group of four has stepped up and started the initiative.
Yeah.
But we very much, as we've talked about, operate as a community. There are all sorts of different players that maybe can add or a little value added. Whether or not it applies to all of the senior population, or it might apply to a few. That's-
Well, no matter who, it helps. I think you said that, right? Whether we even have a few. And I've always said, different things. If one person shows up, then that one person needed to be there, right? So it's going to help somebody. So it's always worth it, right?
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and if it's, as we all know, if you can help and possibly save one, because that's what it might be for somebody, then that's all exactly.
That's why we do it.
That's exactly. Yep.
You're thinking old school, right? You know that.
Well,
That's the best
I'm
way
this
to think,
close to
though.
being able to go to cardio drumming.
You're looking forward to that, aren't you? I can see that. I can see
Great music.
Well, now, so having said that, if somebody is interested or would like to reach out and find out more, what's the best avenue for them to do that?
I would say, I know we've put it to contact Cass,
Any one of us.
any one of us, and we can direct them.
Yep.
To whether it be Handi-Van, we can direct them to Handi-Van. Whether it be Hand, whether it be through Cass. Cass is the one that's got her contact information on the
Okay.
advertising. But if they're unsure, they can come to any one of us.
You bet.
Now you're doing you've talked about, you were talking about doing a series of talks, or you're going to do presentations. Do you have any particular focus in terms of who you're going to present to, or just anybody and everybody?
I'm hoping anybody and everybody, because even if it's not seniors, they might have parents that are, or grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, whatever. And then also their ages are creeping up too. I just want people to know what's available for them, for resources, fun stuff, just everything that we have to offer, because it's one huge community.
We have a number of groups out here that are usually very welcoming. Thing to come to mind is service groups, Rotary.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. Help me.
Kinsman.
Yeah. A number of Elks. A number of organizations, but also maybe some of the faith-based groups, because they'll have seniors in their population as well. So there's a lot of people out there that in some way or some form have contact with or provide services for our senior population.
And my goal in this is the person that says, wow, we have nothing in Neepawa. Come on out and let's start
I've heard that
showing
before.
you what we have.
Do you really know Neepawa?
Right.
I mean,
there's many
but
things.
a lot of it is unsung.
Yeah.
Right? And people say, okay, I'm really interested in the archery club. So if you're interested, you know about it, but not everybody else does.
Right.
Like there was something around a chess. They had a chess thing last year, and it was amazing the number of people that turned up. Well, why don't we have a chess club?
You do a very, very good job, both of you, of advertising what's going on. Like,
well, it's, with ArtsForward, my goal with ArtsForward was to make it that community hub. So if people were questioning, I get calls about the most random things, but I happen to know because I've been watching, or I've been posting for somebody else, or I've been talking to somebody, and people need that spot. They do the same with the town office too. The calls that come in, some days but that's,
you should write a book.
but it's good because people know
At
that
least they're reaching out.
They're reaching out.
They're reaching out.
So for me, it's been very important to be very aware of as much that's going on.
You do a fabulous job.
And be able to speak to it. Like I can drive people crazy with my questions because I need to understand. I need to know the details, because if I'm going to share it, I want to have the proper information, right? So.
So I'm going to put you in the hot seat. We're talk about recreation. So recreation, in terms of what currently happens now with seniors, what do you see, or do you see things changing or moving or that kind of thing?
In recreation in general?
Yes.
Well, I think we do a lot, honestly. I
Okay.
think Hand does a lot. You do things daily to make sure that people are up and out. I just want to see it continue. I want to see more people engage. Like we said, post COVID, a lot of people post COVID weren't doing those activities anymore, and we'd like to get them back out, as long as that's what they want, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I would like to be able to see them continue to stay active. I do think that we have a lot, and it can always grow. We can always get more, but we do have lots here already.
Anything you'd like to try new from the rec perspective?
Ooh, I think something like more outdoors.
Yes, because we do have some nice outdoor facilities accessible here, and just within the community, even if it's just getting out.
Yeah, so whether it's a trail walk, bird watching, anything outdoors, I would love to grow more into that.
We're a very fortunate community with what we have right here for outdoors.
accessible, and we've also got other. You know, there's Fulford Trail. There's Riding Mountain National Park. Places we are in an area that lends itself, but right within the community, it's good.
Yeah, even if it's something as simple as like going to help the bird sanctuary feed the birds and do some of those things every once in a while.
Now Park Lake's
right?
back in use. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely
The lake is
amazing.
back.
I know the lake is back, but that's an outing.
Yeah.
Picnics, different kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Good. How about from your end? What are you seeing? Because your focus is essentially seniors.
Honestly, I'm just trying to keep everybody happy and healthy because I'm very fortunate in that my previous job, I was with seniors day in and day out. So I know a lot of them all over the place. So when I'm trying to plan something, I try to plan things that would appeal to many, many different people in many areas. I don't know how else to say that really. It's
very broad.
Well,
what
they
you're-
all have different needs. And you know what? One age group, they grew up having the dances and church lunches and stuff like that. And another group, maybe not as much, but they did this. So I try to gear activities, include everybody, but try to have them geared for all age groups. And I say age groups because to me, somebody between 50 and 60, that's one. 60 and 70, that's
Yes,
another. So
it
I
changes.
try to include everybody at some point. So
That's can spread you a bit thin. That's very challenging when you're trying
fun.
to look at. Well, okay, if you see it like that, that's even better.
you know what? When you can make them happy and feel good and included and loved, it doesn't feel like you're getting spread thin.
So, in your perspective, and you're looking at the age-friendly, what are our aging population? What are they not participating in? What are they not doing? Think they could do, and is that a result of accessibility or just awareness?
That's
Maybe getting out.
Yeah.
It's the getting out
Yeah.
because
that initial.
and COVID really hurt that. A lot of people got, well, they were terrified, for one, to leave their homes. And then all ages got used to being at home, and it is easier. It's comfortable, and it's the easy part, I think. It's just easy for people to stay at home and keep to themselves,
People slowed down over COVID.
They did.
And they realized, I think at certain points, there's a couple of different factors with it, but some people realize, I actually like spending time at home. And others were scared to get back out. I know Kaleidoscope had to shift gears in how they operated because they always did everything in the Roxy. After COVID,
there's a lot of fear-motivated responses happening as a result of COVID.
And still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our community meal used to be a congregate meal where everybody came and ate together.
Yeah.
Right? In the dining room at Yellowhead Manor. And that was impacted hugely. People did not want to sit beside people they did not know in close quarters, and that attitude stayed. And I mean, I get it, right? And things and attitudes do change. So we rolled with it. So now we deliver a lot. But doing these meals once a month, that's a really great way to get people out and ease them back in.
And I hear, because I'm seeing some changes in some of the, talking to some of the faith communities, they're doing a little more of that kind of socialize, and people are coming out, but it's slow. And you're quite right.
Yeah.
COVID impacted so many different things.
Yeah, I know I try to put on 2 teas a year at hand. We used to do spring and fall. This year I switched it up and I did a Christmas tea. And I know those are always, they're crazy. I always think I have enough tables and chairs out, and I spend pretty much the whole time dragging in more. So that's always good. So I mean, they're coming out for stuff like that. It's coming along.
I think awareness is always something that is hard too, which is why I applaud things like this, because that can play on TV in whether it's a care home or whatever, to make people feel more connected, knowing what's happening. It's just a good resource to have people know more, because that's getting harder and harder to do.
You know what? They need to know they matter, because I know a lot of people in their own homes, they won't say anything. They won't come out, oh,
Right.
well, that's not for me or whatever. But every one of them matters, and that's what makes our town so fabulous.
People need to feel valued in some
Yeah.
form or
Yes.
another. They need to feel.
And they all are. Everyone has
Yes.
something to add.
Yep.
Well, you value often comes it's not just from how you see yourself, but how you feel others see you.
Yeah.
And getting out and about and doing that kind of thing. Are you aware of any other communities that have received this grant as well?
I didn't actually
don't.
check to
I
see.
did research that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know a few places that have applied, but I haven't heard anyone receiving it, honestly. I know that there was one, I believe it was Glenborough, they applied for their Handi-Van. And I think that's what majority of places are applying for, is just to support their Handi-Van.
Well, and
Yeah.
look at us. We supported the Handi-Van, but we included so much more.
Well, I'm just listening. It's not just simply a Handi-Van
Yeah.
initiative. This
Yeah.
is much broader base and focused on that whole getting out and
Community.
feeling valued again and communicating and socializing. That's really good.
Socializing is key.
Well, it fills you up, hey?
Yeah.
Like, I feel good about this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to feel good all day because we had this awesome
That's
conversation.
good.
Yeah.
So imagine, for somebody who doesn't have that on a regular basis,
Right.
what that will do for them,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Well, we're coming close to the end, believe it or not. And we've covered a lot of ground, and it's been wonderful. This is your opportunity. Is there anything that's not been said? Anything you'd like to say or reinforce? Now's your opportunity.
Just take full advantage of this. This is so awesome, and I mean, the things offered are just, it's a great opportunity. Why not?
When you're saying just take advantage, it's not the seniors, but what about the seniors' families? Because hopefully some families see this and say, hey, Mom, Dad,
I hope so.
did you realize that
Right.
this can happen?
Yeah.
And seniors, they don't have to go to everything. If you maybe you're not up to it in February to come to the lunch.
But
and
you can
That's
come
right.
in March.
But you
That's
can
right.
come in March.
There's just something offered for
Yeah.
an entire year. And so we have Cass got this schedule kind of, like it's tentatively set up. So you
Yeah.
have an idea what's coming. So just,
Do you put it in the paper
Yes.
regularly so that so you're getting that communication out there?
oh yeah. And then I put posters in the seniors' apartments and
Do you
stuff.
put them in, and I hate to say this, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but not hate to say it, but I don't want to sound like a broken record, but some of the faith groups putting a poster up in there because they'll have seniors in there as well.
Yeah.
Just to make it get out
a good idea.
as
Yeah.
much as
That
possible.
is a good idea.
Yeah.
And there may be other places as well.
I think too, if we can put it out there to everybody, if you have other ideas, if there's something that you're thinking about for a program or something that your parents would love to do, or approach one of us. It's amazing the amount of programs that I know have started at ArtsForward because somebody said, you should really try this. And we have a group here that is willing to try it.
Clearly, yeah, you're very,
Yeah.
very open to anything. Well, I would like to thank you three for coming. This is a wonderful project, and we're really fortunate we got the grant. And I've been speaking with Michelle Kasprick from Hand, Cassandra Groen, who's our very new recreation director. Welcome to the position. And Yvonne Sisley, who's told us she's been around forever, but who not only represents ArtsForward, but Hand, as well as one of our council members. And thank you all for being here. Really enjoyed the conversation. And for any of you who have listened, remember, if you have a family member who's aged, reach out. And clearly they're open for any ideas and suggestions. So thank you for tuning in to see NACTV's Community Roundtable.